Time to fire up the grill.
Time to go to Total Wine and find the perfect flavor to pair with those burgers.
Ooh, I love their beer cooler.
You love their prices even more.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, ridiculously low prices. Total Wine and more.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Oh, that's a cheer we used to do in softball.
What? It's actually Geico's.
Whenever someone hit a triple, we would wave our bats and yell, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. But we never got to use it because we would only hit home runs. Annoying.
The phrase is from Geico because they help save people money.
Geico? Yeah, they were our team sponsor.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are continuing our fantasy series read-along with the next book in series, Book 3, A Reaper at the Gates. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. Talk about the series with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. As always, you can find the three of us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. We get even more candid with what we have to say. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. Welcome back to another fantasy series read-along discussion, and today we are talking about the third book in our series, A Reaper at the Gates. Joining me are my fantasy series read-along co-hosts, Casey and Nicola. Welcome back, ladies.
Hey, everybody.
I'm excited for today. How about you?
Yes, so excited.
Yeah. All right. So before we jump into it, as always, we're going to run down the stats and the synopsis. Casey, why don't you kick it off with the book stats?
All right. A Reaper at the Gates was first published by Razor Bill in June 2018. It is the third book in the series, and it came in at 473 pages long.
Chonky.
The audiobook was narrated by Fiona Hardington, Catherine Lee McGeehan, Maxwell Caulfield, and Steve West, and it was 15 hours and 28 minutes long.
Oof. All right, Nicola, bring it in with the synopsis, please.
All right. So if you've been with us for the first two books, you know we're in the third book. It's an ongoing story. And at this point, we're beyond the Martial Empire, and within it, the threat of war looms ever larger. Helene Aquila, the Blood Shrike, is desperate to protect her sister's life and the lives of everyone in the Empire. But she knows that danger lurks on all sides. Emperor Marcus, haunted by his past, grows increasingly unstable and violent, while Kyrus Vituria, the ruthless commandant, capitalizes on the Emperor's volatility to grow her own power, regardless of the carnage she leaves in her path. Far to the east, Laia of Serra knows the fate of the world lies not in the machinations of the martial court, but in stopping the Nightbringer. But on the hunt to bring him down, Laia faces unexpected threats from those she hoped would help her, and is drawn into a battle she never thought she'd have to fight. And in the land between the living and the dead, Elias Viturius has given up his freedom to serve as soul catcher. But in doing so, he has vowed himself to an ancient power that demands his complete surrender, even if that means abandoning the woman he loves.
Okay. All right. Here we are. So, of course, before we get started, just want to remind you, if you guys are listening right now and you want to see our faces, this video version is available right now over on Patreon. So head on over and sign up if you'd like to physically see us talking about this book and see all the expressions and all the things, because there may be some things. So first, spoiler alert, as always. And with that said, I do want to jump into like right in the middle. I don't even care. I just want to jump right in the middle and give Nicola her props because she's been saying this whole time.
Yes. Yes. You were right.
I was right.
Did not see that coming.
I was right.
Yes. So what are we talking about? Tell us what you earned your props on, Nicola.
Yes.
Tell us all.
So Cook is the lioness. So not the sister Liz. Cook is Lia's mother. So she's been protecting her from afar this whole time. Well, I mean, once she got out of the prison for the second book and the first and most of this book, she's been helping Helene and protecting Lia and still fighting against the Empire.
Yes. And I actually think that Sava did a good job in explaining that when it came out. Because even Lia was like, I didn't even see it. Like, she looked too old to be my mother. And she, you know, she addressed it. And she was like, well, I guess maybe, you know, after all the stuff she's been through, I guess she could be looking a little raggedy.
White hair. But she did mention in this book, she mentioned that her hand, like Cook's hand, did not look that old. Like it didn't look as elderly as the white hair would make you think. I did think the other things that happened that came out in that that memory that was inflicted on Lia, the stuff about her father and her sister Liz was pretty brutal. So that I didn't see that coming at all. But it's I don't know if I'd call it classic backstory, but it's, you know, it's consistent backstory, I would say.
It is. And I think between what the lioness, aka Cook, had to go through, you know, it explains the kind of person she is now, and it explains why she isn't maternal toward Lia, not outwardly, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because earlier we were saying, well, she doesn't act like how a mother would act if your daughter, and she doesn't, and that's because
but she's protecting her. I don't think it's just
she's punishing herself. She just said she doesn't feel like a mother. Like that one part where Lia wanted to touch her, and she's like, no, don't touch me, because you know what I'm saying? So she has removed herself basically from the mothering role. And she's a protector, yes, but she doesn't portray herself inwardly as her mother.
I think it's more trauma and like PTSD because, you know, she murdered her own child. This is kind of like the brain protecting the self of like, I'm no longer a mother.
Right.
Because
isn't that like,
you know, she can't face that fact. Yeah. She can't. She murdered her husband and her daughter. She can't, you know, let herself feel that. So I think it was more of like holding back in that sense to try and like help her brain.
For sure. But I read it more as even at a less psychological level, no one can know that Lia is her daughter, or she's at she's at the same risk, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you know, Karis knew that. Well, I guess Karis didn't know that Lia was the daughter, right? So that's good. Does she still? I think she still doesn't. Well, everybody does. There was
something in the first book where Karis was like, I killed your mother, right?
Yes.
Or I killed the lioness. Wasn't there something?
She did say she killed the lioness.
But I don't know if Karis knew that Lia was the lioness's daughter at that point.
Yeah.
She just knew that she was part of the resistance. By now she should know, because they've been promoting the story all over the Empire.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. She'd be stupid not to know at this point. But yeah, in the first book, I don't think she made the connection. She just thought.
I mean, she might have, because the Nightbringer knew, right? So she might have known.
The Nightbringer does not tell her everything, as we have come to see.
He has his own
agenda for sure. But anyway. So I don't know. She might know. She might have known. Because she knew in the first book, the Nightbringer told her a lot, right?
He was probably still holding back a lot more back then, too.
Maybe the point is just that we don't know.
Yeah, we don't. And the thing is, though, the Nightbringer has said time and time again, I feel like several times in this book, that I don't work for her. She works for me.
Yeah, she's my servant.
I'm the
Yeah.
This is
master.
my end game, not hers. I'm
Yeah.
pulling the strings, not her. So,
And she
Yeah.
disobeyed orders, right? She
She
wasn't
did.
supposed to try to murder the Shrike, so that was against his direction. And I forget what else she did that was supposed to be.
She wasn't supposed to kill Livy yet. The sister, when she poisoned her way back.
Right.
Towards the beginning of the book. Not quite the beginning, but a little before the middle.
About a third of the way through.
This book is so long. It was like, I don't know.
I have a confession, you guys.
Pages.
I have a confession. I didn't have time to read the whole thing. I started it on time. I had to skip through the last quarter a little bit. I read the last chapter. I know what happened. I know who died. I skipped around a little bit and got like the relevant stuff. I think I can still talk about it. Okay, but I got a little short.
Okay, well, with that said, let me just say I read all of it, page to page, and I do want to complain because I do feel like it was too long. So if I had one criticism for this book, I think it was about 100 pages too long. Some of the stuff could have been cut back a little bit.
I would have finished it if it was 100 pages less.
Yeah, I mean, some of the pacing dragged here and there. Like some of the stuff seemed repetitive a little bit in some places. As far as like information getting to us, like I feel like, okay, we already knew that, or
there was a lot going on in this book. There were a lot of threads.
There were a lot of threads. I feel like they were, dare I say, fleshed out too much. I mean, sometimes you complain about things not being fleshed out enough. At least I do sometimes. Yeah. But in this case, it seemed just like a lot. I kept like figuring out, okay, so when I first started this, I was very excited about it because the Nightbringer had that paragraph in the front. And I was reading, I was going through this like, okay, when is the next Nightbringer chapter? I wanted his chapters. And I was disappointed. I was like, okay, well, you gave me this tease. And so then I'm just reading and getting through it. And I just felt like there was this spot where I was kind of like, oh my God. I don't know if I was just frustrated with the story developing slowly or if I was frustrated that I didn't get the point of view that I wanted when I wanted
a little bit of both. That's what I felt. Because I wanted to see the Nightbringer's point of view again. I did. But yeah, there were parts like with Helene when I was just like, come on. We know that they're fighting. We know that these people are fighting. And I did appreciate sometimes she would just kind of like skip the fight scenes to be like, yes, my hammer saw blood on both ends by the end of the night. I was like, good.
Yeah.
Battle in one sentence. I like this. So let's move it along. Like sometimes that was like, I was like, come on. We need less of this plot line.
Less of walking through the streets alone, right?
For everybody.
That happened like 3 times with her, didn't it? Where she was trying to walk around by herself and one of her guards would be like, you can't be by yourself. And
I feel like it was Harper. He kept Harper was harping on her like, what are you doing? Like,
the one time she was alone, they did try to kill her.
I know. And he's like, it's my job to keep you alive. Like, what is your problem, girl? And it's like, she don't want to hear it. What happened when she went off on her own? Gotcha.
Not good.
Gotcha. But she got out of it by the skin of her teeth. She got out of it.
Because of the Nightbringer.
Because a little bit of help.
I did like, my reaction to that point of view, Tamara, was I did like it, even though it didn't come back through the rest of the book very much, but it did sort of change the way you see him when he does show up, right? You understand, like in the second book, I think he comes right out and says basically he wants to destroy all of humanity, right? I didn't feel like that was actually his goal in this, like, or maybe things got confused, or maybe I'm lulled into some kind of sympathetic viewpoint with him. I don't know, but releasing I'm going to skip ahead. Spoiler. When he releases the djinn, you get the feeling that this could be an okay thing if they can get past their rage, right? Because they're supposed to pass over the spirits. But yeah, that whole mythology arc was it's one of the reasons why this book was a lot, right? So it wasn't a bad thing, but there was a lot involved in discovering what happens when the ghosts get out of the forest, and Elias's struggle to access the magic of Malf, and Sheva being killed, and the hut burning down, and then the zombie apocalypse. Like, guys, I'm so tired of zombies. I can't even tell you.
Well, the ghosts inhabiting the living people.
Well,
slightly different than zombies.
But they were the dead people too, right? It was the dead couldn't pass over.
Right.
So
that was like a short thing, though, right? Or was that?
I don't remember zombies more than that one part, but I just remember them distinctly talking about the ghost, like
that was around the part where I started skipping things, so I may have inferred zombies.
Okay, because the ghost would come and just take control of living people and other things. So because you can't assume everyone's original body is available. They're just out there creating havoc and a mess. And I just felt like the Nightbringer, you're right. So in the beginning, we thought he wanted to destroy all the humans. But in this book, it definitely had the, free the djinn vibe. That was all they were about. And at the end there, when he had the 14 ogres, I was like, oh, but if he just gets rid of them, doesn't it solve his problem? Like, does he really need to go off and kill everyone else? He's freed the djinn. He's gotten the 14 martial holy men and women that thought that they were the ones that were supposed to have the power. Do you really need to go off and kill people anymore? Like, I don't know.
Rage and vengeance, maybe? Like, he's had, a millennia or more to sit in his anger. And yes, the opening chapter definitely humanized him, because in book 2, he was just this evil entity. He was just evil for evil's sake, almost. Not quite, because we knew what he wanted to do, but he was, we were just seeing him from Maya's point of view as he's this evil thing that she has to fight.
In cahoots with Karis, making Karis more powerful.
So he's just like the bad guy.
Right.
TM. And so in this one, it really humanized him. It really made him... it made you understand why he was doing what he was doing.
Multidimensional.
So I'm not quite sure. I'm not sold. I think he might still wipe out humanity, because he talked about it a lot. Like, he wants to do that. He did get what he wanted and freed the djinn, but I don't know. He's really mad at humans, and he's fallen in and out of love so many times, and he's just hurting. So he needs to take it out on somebody.
And now that it's been revealed that the ogres, I guess he was telling Cain, or specifically Cain, they made them unknowingly. He made Laia, Helene, and Elias, what did they call them? I guess they were champions for that team, and they didn't know it. They didn't even know what was happening. You know what I'm saying? And that was really bold and rude. And
they're handpicked by the augurs.
Right. But you don't get to have a say in, yes, I want to participate in this or not.
I would say another thing that's a little partially baked so far is the other 14 augurs, right? Like, they played a role, one or two of them had a role in the trials that we never saw any of them again, and now they're dead.
Yeah, they're dead.
I mean,
I think they got the power back that they originally took. The power went back to the djinns, and that's why they died, right?
Well, okay.
Yeah. No, we did see the augurs a couple times in this book. There was a scene where Marcus and Helene went to go visit them, and Marcus saw the one female augur by himself, and he was really pissy afterward. He was like, she hasn't been wrong yet. So Helene needs to, the Blood Shrike, she needs to lead the armies. It was a very small scene that I was definitely like, okay, this didn't need to happen. But it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, here's the augurs, we listen to them. They're revered. We love them. Right. They haven't been wrong yet.
We fear them. They're creepy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Helene ran into Cain one other time. They were mentioned a few times in this book. So
I mean, Cain plays a big role, but I don't know. I'm just I don't know. So
it wasn't. Yeah,
Like
they
the
were there,
one
they're
scene
not there.
where Helene and him came together, you know, she was trying that blocking thing again. She's like, well, I can't use it with the Nightbringer. I'm sure as hell gonna use it now. And he says, oh, you're blocking your thoughts. Oh, should we talk about whatever then? I'm like, what? You just want to talk about whatever? You don't want to you don't have any more info for her? Okay, I guess.
it was a small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just there's a lot going on.
Little subplot that needed to be tied up, and so they got sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Now they're gone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think of the mouth entity, like the magic that Elias was supposed to be accessing and working with?
Honestly, at first I was kind of confused. It took me a minute to kind of sort out what the fuck was going on. So I'm like, okay, because it's like, so the magic was its own entity, but it didn't really reveal itself to be its own entity at first. At first, it just was like, I can't reach the power and I don't know why. Mm-hmm. And then later on, you know, the power started talking to him and stuff. I'm like, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't know if we can actually trust it, right? So Elias has basically surrendered to it, right? And has given up most of his humanity except for that little tickle in the back of his head that Moth keeps telling him, don't worry, that'll go away. And but it's different from what the Nightbringer is saying. Like their stories don't match. And it's not telling Elias everything, right? There was the thing about the sea of creatures and the blackness and the darkness, and he's like, you'll learn about that later. It'll be all right. So I feel like there's more to come from that, and that will probably be the way that Elias and Laia get to be together in the end. Because I think they will be together somehow.
Come on, guys. Yeah. They are not going to let them stay apart. They are going to find a way.
They're Romeo and Juliet this bitch.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Well, Laia explained how like her love for Elias is different than the love she felt for Keenan. And I was like, oh yeah. No, they're Romeo and Julieting this bitch.
Even Elias felt a little bad for the Nightbringer too. He was like, even after everything he's done, you know, I guess learning that story that he learned while being kind of held prisoner in the trees or whatever. He's like, I feel like a little bit bad for the guy. Like, you know, I changed my point of view a little bit. Never mind, he slept with my girl and lied to her face. So the thing that I find hilarious also in this book is how the titles have shifted. For example, this whole time we're calling Helene, and now she's just Bloodstrike. This whole time we've been calling what's her face? Karis. We've been calling her what's it? The commander. What's
Commandant?
Her Commandant. So now this whole book she's Karis. Like we're just calling her by first name here. That's what we're doing.
Interesting.
That was a really good and subtle shift in the characterization. Like at the beginning of the book, Helene talked about how she's no longer Helene because she watched her family get murdered. She like really submerged herself into her job, so to speak. And so in her head, she called herself the Bloodstrike instead of Helene. And there was a whole part, and I think it was chapter 3, when Elias sees her for the first time. The first thing he does is he calls her Helene, and she's like, oh my God, he used my name, except I'm not Helene anymore. Like it was a whole thing. So I think that was her internal shift into calling herself, or no longer calling herself Helene. And then denoting the commandment. I can't speak today. I'm sorry. Commandant. She's just like, no, she's not my superior. She's not my teacher. She's this lowly bitch. She's the bitch of Blackmore or whatever it's called. Like she's
calling her by her first
she
fucking
doesn't
name.
deserve that title. First name, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm taking you down.
There was a chapter.
So that was like that.
Yeah. There was a scene when Harper was getting a little romantic with the Bloodstrike too, and started to call her by her name, and she was like, "No, call me the Shrike.
Mhm.
I'm not
if
Helene.
he hadn't messed up and said her name, hey, he might have got some. He might have got lucky. She was still weak that
I
time.
don't know. Do you want to get with somebody who's calling you a blood Shrike? I mean, come on.
I mean,
the
but
I mean,
she
that's
was
what she's
like,
calling herself.
The butcher?
the
Well,
writing
but
said, oh, well, let me stop and think. Oh, I do. He's hot. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, she basically said that on the page. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden she was like, about face. Like, no.
because it's YA, so there's lots of
Yeah.
almost kissing and lots of almost sexing, and yes.
But yeah.
Well, Elias and Laya got really close in that one chapter.
Yep.
He's like
yeah.
pinned up against the wall and
then stopped.
The bed, and I'm like, oh wow.
And then
it
stopped.
I was like, okay, that's the
This
way
is too real.
And then they roll it back. The author rolls it back where Laya won't even remember it. She's like, what?
She
I'm like,
kind
what?
of remembers the dream. Like,
He's
it's
like, she thought it was a dream. And he's like, it's real. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, okay. Oh my God.
I mean, the world building is interesting. It's different. It's very, it's very unique and fresh. But I would say that it's a little bit Deus Ex Machina-ish in that the magic can do whatever the author needs to happen in that moment. People just teleport from one point in the empire to 1,000 miles away or whatever, and
the wind and all
the wind walk, or it's real or it's not real, or they're talking in their heads, or so I feel like there's this, like, there's always some kind of loophole that might come up and just yank you out of the world building a little bit. It's not like really awful, but it's just got a little bit of that flavor, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
You said you had 2
Mhm.
points, Casey. What was it? Was that Bloodstrike and Karis were the two, or was there something else?
I don't remember. I don't
Okay.
remember at all. Never mind.
It's all
Just had
right.
the 1 point.
It's all right.
I'll think of it later.
It'll come up. It'll come back.
Oh, the magic and Elias. Sorry, I wanted to go on that tangent. I actually really liked the fact that he was struggling with the magic, because even as Helene said at one point, his whole character is just to do the impossible and then pull it off somehow, and then grin and say something witty afterward, which is how he acted in the first book. He would just do the impossible task, like pull it off by the skin of his fucking teeth, and then
Because he was the best mask ever.
Yeah, because he was the best, and he was good. Like, I don't want to take that away from him. He did have all those skills. He did have that ability to pull shit off. But now that he's stuck here, even from the very beginning, he's been struggling with it. And I really liked seeing him struggle. It's not coming easy for him. He can't accomplish what he set out to do. And I thought that was a good twist for his character arc. Make him struggle, make him suffer, make him fail.
Right.
But that struggle allowed him to do what he thought he needed to do early on. Remember, we were talking about, how is he going to do all these things? He was doing those things early on until he figured out, well, I cannot be this way and that way. Yeah. I can't do both. But until then, he was flying around, helping Laya and the crew, free people. He was doing all of that. So he wasn't confined to the forest until he gave up and gave in.
When Sheva was killed, all of a sudden he didn't have his sort of safety valve anymore, or safety net.
Yeah. I'm surprised she let him do what he did. I mean, honestly, she let him run around at, helping saving everybody. And she has this very important information. She didn't tell him a lot of things about this power. And it's important. I'm like, you should set his ass down and say, look here, man, look here.
That's a really good point, because, they actually came out and said, that he was used to sneaking away from his teachers because of he's used to being a student, and he knows how to circumvent the authority. But now this is something he actually needs to learn. And the teachers, she's not used to being a teacher, right? So she doesn't,
and she's not mean. She's not going to whip him.
She's not mean, and and she's not good at it, right? So she didn't convey the information she needed to convey.
I don't know. I don't even think it's about being a teacher. If I like you as a friend, like let's say we're cool, she liked him, right? She thought he was decent. She felt bad about what was going to happen to him. I'm like, look, I got to tell you what's all the way going to happen to you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, even in that respect, like not as, great teacher, teach a student, but like, just like, let's keep it real. You need to know what the fuck is going to happen to you because shit's getting real in here. Like I could tell something is wrong, but she didn't do that. She kind of just was like, well, and then she got killed. So that was unfortunate. So he had to learn the long way, the hard way, because he just didn't have that outlet anymore. So, which was good. I agree with you, Casey. That made the story more interesting. It made him more interesting.
I felt like there was a lot of traveling.
There was a lot of traveling.
Like there's a lot of pages of I rode through the night changing horses and not eating and blah, blah, and like there was a lot of that. A lot of it.
There was a lot of it. And of course, a lot of 4 weeks later, 6 weeks, 2 weeks, 3. I mean,
3 weeks, 3 days till the grain moon.
Yeah, a lot of mentioning of time. How much time has gone by. It's been months and you haven't XYZ, or just the casual mention of time passing along with all the traveling. So I wonder, has this book taken like over the course of like 6 months? It feels like so. It
was something like that because they at the beginning they talked about like the green moon being the big deadline, right? The prophecy was talking about it. Marcus kept talking about it. The shamans or the warlocks mentioned it. So there was, and honestly, when it finally happened, that was the part that I was kind of going past. So I'm not sure. You guys tell me what happened when the green moon was that was the battle at the pass where they were going through the caves. Is that when the green and the baby was born?
So when the moon, I guess on that day, that's when all the shaman like raised all the ghosts, and then the ghosts took control of all the people, and they were like super powered people, like jumping over shit, and like they were like, oh God, we can't keep this up. Like, what is happening? So yeah, that was the day that, shit went down. Like, because, even Helene, she's like, why do they have that army just chilling out there? Like, are they stupid? They're just eating
there's no siege machines. There's no
right. Yeah. They're eating through their resources. What's happening? And surprise, that's what's happening. They were waiting for that day to activate on their plan. So that was a mess. Okay, well, we do have a lot more to talk about. And so we're going to take a quick commercial break, check out the sponsors, check out the merch store. The links are in the show notes. We have some cool stuff in there. And when we return, we'll continue our conversation. Stay with us.
Time to fire up the grill.
Time to go to Total Wine and find the perfect flavor to pair with those burgers.
Ooh, I love their beer cooler.
You love their prices even more.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, ridiculously low prices. Total Wine and more.
Hey, don't forget the Johnsons are coming over. I want to find a rosé Jill hasn't tried yet.
Let's go exploring at Total Wine. Their prices are ridiculously low.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, always low prices. Total Wine and more.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Oh, that's a cheer we used to do in softball.
What? It's actually Geico's.
Whenever someone hit a triple, we would wave our bats and yell, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. But we never got to use it because we would only hit home runs. Annoying.
The phrase is from Geico because they help save people money.
Geico? Yeah, they were our team sponsor.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Today's episode is sponsored in part by audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code SHELFADDICTION, spelled as one word, when you sign up at audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is SHELFADDICTION. Guys, we are back welcome back to the show. We're going to continue this conversation because we have several more topics to cover, which during the break, I wrote them down just so we not get lost in the, you know how we do.
In the shuffle, in the conversation.
Yeah. So we were talking a lot about, the Nightbringer and stuff. I think I want to talk about the other villain too, which is Marcus. Let's talk about his lame
that
ass.
crazy son of a bitch.
He's lame. First off, he gets pure enjoyment out of breaking bones. That was pretty dreadful. Can we just...
Oh, God. Yeah.
Like, really? You're doing this? I can't.
Yeah. And then when he found out that she could heal...
He goes and breaks something else and is like, hey, blood strike, come fix this. I want to see it. Oh my God. And then he asks her, so can you heal yourself? She's like, no.
Not at all. Nope. Don't hurt me. Nope. Can't do it.
Nope. And I think he knew she was lying, but who cares at that point?
Almost definitely.
Yeah. So he's a wretched person.
I think healing herself was not as easy for her either, right? So it wasn't a total lie. But although I think the text did come out and say, no, she lied.
Well, you know what? I think that, of course, it was difficult for her at first because she didn't know she could do it. And without the Nightbringer telling her, like, yes, you can sing your own song, she had to figure out what the fuck that was. But I feel like now that she's done it, it's not impossible for her to do again without assistance.
Yeah, it'll be much easier.
True, but they've been saying all along that the more she uses that power, the more it takes from her, the more like
she'll need to sleep.
Yeah, well, it's not just that, but she's like tied to the people that she heals, right? And it's harder to walk away from people who need healing. So there's some subtlety to using that power and what it costs her, I guess. That I don't think we know everything about that yet.
No, and I feel like there's going to be like a loophole. Like if you're healing yourself, I feel like there will be. Like you can't heal yourself and fall out at the same time. It doesn't work that way. So I just don't get it. So I guess we'll have to see. I'm sure she'll do it at least one more good time before it's all said and done, because that's like a nifty trick, pull it out.
So talking about these powers, it occurred to me this morning, we were getting ready to do this podcast and I was pouring my coffee like I do. And I was like, maybe the reason that the Shrike and Laia both ended up with these powers is because they both had a piece of the star on them, right? When they were touched by the Ifrit or whatever the heck it was. So that doesn't really explain Cooks, who seems like she's got some
stuff. She had
the armband
before she passed it on. She had it.
Right. So I'm just wondering if that, and of course Laia can still do stuff even though the armband is gone. But that was one of those, I wonder kind of moments.
I mean, probably that would make the most sense.
I didn't expect it to be in her mask. What did you guys think about that? Was that the thing that was spoilered for you when you looked at the cover, Tamara?
No.
Okay.
But I didn't even. No, that wasn't it.
Nope. Okay.
But yeah, I didn't even think about it being in her mask. But then when you think back, it was like they made such a big deal of those pieces, like between the chest thing that she was wearing and the mask. And then they did say, hey, this is a part of you or whatnot. So it did make complete sense when it came out to be the mask. I just didn't consider it before.
I don't know if I thought it made complete sense personally, because it just said something like they put it in your mask. Like who's they? I guess the augurs must have done it. But who did that? And I guess it must have been Cain, right? Because he had handpicked all these people. So, but that seemed a little hand wavy to me.
They've been playing the long game, though.
Yeah, they can see the future, right? Like that's their big thing, is they see all the different possible futures and they know what's going to happen. So it makes sense that they, picked her to join the school, and then, they put the stuff in her mask, and they pick her to be part of the team. And or not the team, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, they gave her that shield and then she forgot about it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They've been playing this game a long time. So,
and they probably had backup plans too. Like there's probably maybe Dex had something in his mask because they knew he'd be in here somewhere. So I don't know. These people can see the future.
I don't know if there's multiple.
They've been playing this for centuries.
The mask, I'm not the mask. The star was complete. That was how he was able to free the Jinn. So there's no other pieces.
Right.
So
I don't know. Like it was.
Yeah.
They were planning stuff, and maybe there was a backup plan, but
so they must have been expecting the star to get completed, right? Because they probably could have intervened when the Nightbringer was wooing Laia, right? Cain could have showed up and been like,
don't mess with him, don't do it. I'm trying to save you. I'm looking out for you. But no.
It's hard to tell how much the augurs can like interfere with the Nightbringer though.
Well, none anymore. None at all anymore.
Well, Cain's still alive.
He is, by the skin of his teeth, man. He gonna kill his ass too. Soon as he's got his revenge. Yeah. He's like just hanging on to him for, just to twist the knife a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's something. I assume we'll see something about that happen in the last book.
So we were originally talking about Marcus. I want to kind of go back to Marcus because he was crazy and everyone thought he was crazy. But I want to talk about the ghost.
Okay.
His brother.
Zachary.
And we did say, it's probably his brother. But to me, I feel like there was a little disconnect in the story unless there's a place that I missed, because I didn't think that all these ghosts were over bleeding out of the forest until a certain part. But Zach was with him long before they started talking about all the ghosts bleeding out and occupying people and, the ghost just exceeding the amount that Elias could hold. So that doesn't really connect.
I don't think Zach ever went to the waiting place. I think when Marcus killed Zach in that trial, his ghost has been next to Marcus ever since. Like I think like he never left. It was because even back in book 1, they were talking about how Marcus would sometimes look over his shoulder like he was looking for Zach. And so I think Zach's been there the entire fucking time. And Marcus has just slowly descended into crazy. Yeah.
Right.
But I still feel like that kind of goes against what they were explaining in the book. So Ghost are
it does. It does. Maybe it's a plot hole.
It's the twin bond.
Yeah. Maybe the augurs
all
cast
spirits
magic
come
spell
here except twins and except
that are murdered by their twins.
For this one ghost. He has to stay here. Like, I don't know. It was definitely that's the plot hole. But yeah, I think Zach was there the whole time. I don't think he ever went to the waiting place. Because Elias would have mentioned it. Because he mentioned everybody else. He saw, his friends in book 2 who he killed. He saw Helen's sister, or her middle sister who got her throat slit at the end of the last book. Hannah, thank you. He saw her and talked to her for a while. So if he ever saw Zach, he would have said so.
Yeah, you would think.
And he didn't. So I'm
although Zach died long before he was in that forest, long before he took that deal.
His friend who he killed would have been there at the exact same time.
Right. But we know of that though. He was disgruntled, right?
He was disgruntled. He stayed on purpose.
So a bunch of the spirits that died in that trial battle had already passed through when Elias went to the waiting place for the first time. Right. So he didn't talk to everybody that had died in that battle. Just a couple that were kind of stubborn. Yeah. So that could have been passed off, right?
Yeah. I mean, if your twin murders you, I think I'd be disgruntled and stick around. Like,
but you got the sense that he forgave him, right? Because
Yeah.
that Zach
Yeah.
that Zach would have forgiven because of the situation. But I want to ask you guys. Here's something that I didn't quite catch. Maybe it was explained more in the parts that I was skimming through. There was a part where maybe it was the Nightbringer, or maybe it was Mouth that said to Elias, "Why do you think you don't see tribespeople here?" And then there was the thing about how they have the fakirs that help the spirits move on in the tribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, like, why wouldn't they have to go to the waiting place? Is it just that the fakirs did what the jinns used to do? Is it that simple?
I think so. Okay. Yeah, it was like they perform their ceremonies. They can talk to the ghosts. The young girl, I forget her name, who he met.
Right. I know
she was 16. Like, she had just started training, or she'd been training her whole life, but she just became because her grandfather died. She said she could talk to ghosts, except that she could no longer see the ghosts now because something weird was happening. Okay. So they have that power. They can see the ghosts. They can help them pass on. If the Nightbringer isn't fucking around with everything, mm-hmm. If the ghost can actually pass on and not sit around and torture everybody.
The Nightbringer was killing off all the fakirs. Is that what was going on?
I don't know.
Because there was that thing where she said, all of these, all the elders were dying in mysterious ways. Her grandfather drowned when he was strong and healthy and knew how to swim, and there was other tribes that had similar.
That wasn't fully explained in this book. I hope it comes out in the next book, because that was one of those things where I was like, this is part of the plot. This is part of his fight. But I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't fully explained, so.
Okay. I just like the problem with the waiting place being a physical place and having physical constraints is that, the empire is made out, or not just the empire really, but like the whole world is made out to be pretty big, right? So like, is there really one person that can process all of that? And I know that's part of
the jinns used to have many. There were many of them.
Right. I mean, that's part of the point, but it's been like a millennia or something where one jinn has been. I don't know. It just feels a little.
Also remember, what's her face was a jinn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she had a punishment, so she wasn't a human doing the job, which they kind of pointed out. Like, dude, you're human. What you gonna do? You can't keep up. You can't do this. Yeah. So I think that was part of the reason why the overflow and all these things contributed.
Maybe next book where the jinn are released, we'll learn a little clear more. All that up.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's going to clear anything up, because we already know. We already know YA. They're going to let Elias out of this. So who's going to replace him? How's this going to work? Make it make sense. That's all I'm saying. Make it make sense, please.
Some of those jinn are going to, come and do their duty, right? I think so.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope. It's YA.
Well, it's YA, and they've already sown a couple of seeds about love being the answer to all the problems, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like the Nightbringer falls in love.
Is it? Oh my God.
It's the only power strong enough. It's the only power strong enough to turn back the tide of blah, 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 blah.
Let's ask Elias that in 40 years. Saying. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to roll with it. We will see.
We'll see. We'll get it.
Yeah, I mean, but even with the couple of plot holes, I think the story still held up with a couple of things that kind of slipped through. I still kind of just bought the plot, outside of a couple of things that kind of just ding, 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 like something doesn't quite fit.
Yeah.
See, I'm holding on to the hope that it'll get explained in the next book, because so far there haven't been like really big plot holes. And I don't think Sabata here would create this and then not fill it in. You know, there are the little magic loopholes. There's the little things here and there. But like, these are big plot holes. And so far, she hasn't been an author who just like would leave this open-ended.
Right.
So I'm holding on to the hope that it gets solved in the next book. If it doesn't, that'll change my whole opinion on this book. but I'm holding on to that hope because as an author, I've learned to trust her. And
I think that's really the heart of this whole series, right? Is how the souls are crossing over, and what the role of the Jinn and what the role of Elias are, and is it really the whole world, or is it just this? You know, what happens to the Nightbringer's apocalyptic vision, right? So maybe it turns out.
I would be surprised if we hear any blip about the whole world. We haven't yet. Not really.
I thought we did.
I mean, like we hear about this region, right? But I don't think.
Okay, but the Mariners are not part of the Empire. The Kakans, those are the ones that were fighting at the city gates. They're not part of the Empire.
But they're in the region, though.
But they
live in the region.
It's like a continent instead of a globe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I took it. What Casey is saying.
I'll roll with it. But you know, they talk about the scholars and they talk about the marshals, and then they talk about the tribes people. And like at one point, Nightbringer was like, "Well, the scholars are just the beginning. I'm coming for them all." Right? I'm.
Yeah, the region. So I'm picturing it as like, you know, continent.
Okay.
Like China, not Europe size. Like it's big and it's huge and everybody is spread out everywhere. But or I guess I should say Asia, not China, because Asia is the continent, and I actually do have half of brain cells somewhere in my brain. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. No, it's fine. We know what you mean.
The continent, yeah.
Right. Well, even just China is pretty huge. So.
Yeah, no, but like that.
Yeah.
Picturing it.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
You know, a whole globe that he's going to go after every continent and every land spread out. Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, so the baby, y'all, the new little emperor. I thought that was so like unique how the author had Helene kind of heal the baby before the baby was born. You know, she had to heal the baby. And she kind of like put all this intent of what she wanted him to be.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of cool. And like,
I did like that line.
There was what?
There was that line where she was like, "Oh, I should make him love his people." This thought popped into my mind, like it was planted there, and I was like, "Huh? I wonder why." Was it planted in there?
Maybe. Is there someone in this room, say, that can manipulate your mind?
Right.
Who's standing next to you?
I know, right? Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing. I mean, he didn't have her plant like a penchant for torturing animals or anything like that.
No.
Or raping slaves, you know, like his daddy. So, and I mean, even when that baby was born, you know, Laya says, "Hey, whisper your good intentions toward the baby or whatever." And she's like, "What?" Like, just do it. So she kind of has like two shots at it, right? So it's like, it's kind of cool. And she can kind of feel like the connection to that baby because she healed him. So
yeah, Helene is definitely a heroine in this story.
Yes, definitely.
Well, it was his song. You know, they talk about whenever she heals somebody, she has to find their song. She can't just go in. He didn't
have a song.
Right. But it had to fit him based on his lineage, right? So she
his lineage, she was creating that song for him when he was still an unborn child in his mother's womb and dying. Like, he hadn't had time to fully create his brain yet, so he didn't have a song. And that's
so do you think she could have done anything? Like, she could have put.
I think in that moment she could have done anything, but she wanted him to be like her sister, like her father, like her family.
I
And
think
then the
it had to
Nightbringer's
fit.
like, make him love his people.
Yeah, but I think it had to fit, right? There was a point in there where she's like, "Well, there's something missing," is that what you're saying? Well, that was planted in her head, maybe.
Well, yeah, that was planted, but she created that song for him. She, said, "I'm only going to put 2 pieces of your actual father in here. What he could have been if he wasn't a psycho."
Right, strength in battle, and there was
Yeah,
something else.
See, I don't think anything was planted. I think she was just, she knew from what her and her sister discussed that the plan was to have this baby be the emperor and to get the fuck rid of Marcus, right? So she was like thinking like strategically, what would a good king need? Parts
absolutely.
of the good parts of my family and the good parts of me and my sister and good stuff from his crazy daddy.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was planted. I just think she was just making sure she covered all her bases, I think.
No, the line about loving his people was planted.
Oh, I didn't get that at all. I don't know. I didn't get that it was planted at all.
I need to find that sentence because
I missed it. Because it was meshed with everything else. I did not get, that part was planted. So it went over my head.
She literally said it. It was half a sentence.
She said it was planted?
Yeah. The thought appears in my head as if it's been planted there. This is on page 292 of 515 in my ebook.
Girl,
so yeah, the thought appears in my head.
I'll take your word for it. I'm just saying. I'll just take your word for it. It could have been intuitive still, but I'll just go with what you're saying.
It could have been intuitive, but with that line, I was like, who is standing next to you? Can he not read your mind? Can he not plant the thoughts in your mind? Use your brain.
It doesn't seem like something he would do, though, especially if he wanted to destroy all the marshals.
Okay, tell me.
Well, that was his thing, was that he loved his people. He loved his
so
people.
Maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe it was just something that was going through his mind.
Yeah.
And she picked up
Again, I hope it gets explained later, but chapter 1, when we first see the Nightbringer, like on that opening page,
love will make it all okay, you guys.
Yes.
That's how we're going to get
through.
He
loved his people. He loved his children. He loved his wife. He loved.
I just cannot.
And then he had to fall in love 800 million times to get all the pieces of a star together. It's all about love.
Oh my God. Just stab me with a pitchfork right now. Like,
have you not been reading fantasy like ever before, Tamara?
I have, but damn. I mean, it's just like, this is just like overkill of love.
It's a bit much on the love. It really is.
I feel like it's on the verge of being a Disney cartoon. Like,
it's close. It's a little violent. There's no sex. It's almost Disney.
Oh my God. I just can't. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's going to have this sappy ass ending that everyone is just going to be like, oh, it's so cute. And I'll be like, oh my God. Okay. And I do like good versus evil, but not necessarily told through this lens of love. I mean, good and bad, good and evil. That's like the root of all these really good series, right? It's ultimate evil versus ultimate good, or people trying to be good, right? But not all, gooey eyed love. Let's just hug everybody. It will be great.
Sprinkle it on.
Yeah,
just sprinkle it on and it'll all be.
I'm just saying. But y'all know me. Y'all know I go against the grain, so y'all should be used to it by now. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing here. I don't know.
Discussion for the next book is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, something. I don't know. Okay, so do we have predictions? Oh, wait, before we do predictions, do we want to cover anything else before we have our predictions?
The beekeeper!
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about the beekeeper.
Can we talk about him for half a second? Sorry.
Yeah, let's talk
No, he was
about
pretty
him.
crucial in this.
Yeah, he had a major role. He was along for the ride. I liked him. I liked his character.
Did you guys think that he was going to be that important? That he was going to be the consort of the princess?
I knew there was something going on with him and the princess because of, the things his face did when they talked about the princess.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are obvious.
But I was surprised that he'd actually been married to her. And I was a little bit surprised that he couldn't figure out how to banish the gremlins or whatever they are around her.
Mm-hmm.
Just hanging on to her. It's crazy.
Yeah, because he can control the wraiths, which are not the wraiths. What does he control?
The other things, the whites.
Yeah, the whites, yeah. Yeah, no, that was weird. That was another one of those, what is happening here? This is...
Because like the magic people are usually able to fight them, right? Mm-hmm. So like the guy at the forge, Spiro, could fight them, and Laia could fight them. Like if you could see him, usually you could fight them. So why is it that Beekeeper could see them but not get rid of them? I thought that was
yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
with all his connections, right? With the things coming, the whites coming back and telling him things. Why couldn't he send them out on a mission to figure out what the hell he could do to get rid of those things on the princess?
Or fight them himself. Or, get one of the other magicians in the town to fight them. Mm-hmm. Like, there was something else going on that, again, potential plot hole, but I'm holding out hope that it will get wrapped up in the next book. And if it doesn't, what the fuck?
I think you're right. I think that they've established that the Mariners are an ally for the good side. I think they'll come through. I think that Musa will get his happily ever after with Nicola. That she'll get cured of her
wraith problem,
of her infestation.
Yes, her problem.
We'll get a good Orcan man out there and
dip her in a bath of salt or something. I don't know. Just get him off.
Well, salt cured the ghost problem, right?
Yeah, just throw some salt at her.
They had a lot of salt. They must have had a lot of salt in that tribe, but
yeah.
All right.
What about you, Casey? Do you have any predictions for the next book?
I think it will be very happy. I think it's going to get a little dark, and then everything's going to fall into place, and we'll be all like, oh, yay! Love conquers all! Hallelujah! Everybody gets a happily ever after.
Well, not everybody. Right. So who's going to die? Let's do a Deadpool.
We know the commander commandant will die, right? Karis is out.
Yeah.
Done for. Yeah. So it's just who's going to kill her. And I still feel like it's going to be Elias. I don't know why, but I still feel like in my bones he could kill his mother.
I still think it's going to be the Shrike.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Elias. There was that weird thing, again, possible plot hole, where the cook was leaving those statues in the commandant's room with the mother and the child.
That was weird. What the heck was that about?
Unless the cook kills her.
The cook said she wasn't going to anymore. She said...
Okay, so maybe I missed this. I thought the cook died in that standoff at the end, near the end of the book.
It was not verified that she died.
There was no body.
Ran away.
I see.
And she was there, but we never
So it's a
got
soap opera death.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
It's a Susan Lucci's husband death.
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible. I mean, they implied that she died, but we never had verification of it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I know Karis is going to be gone. I feel like for some reason, I don't know if the Nightbringer will be dead or if he'll just be banished to somewhere. I feel like he'll be gone, but maybe not dead.
I think he'll get redeemed because he's supernatural. He's probably not going to be killed. I mean, the Jinn can be killed, but it takes some effort, right? And he's the strongest one. So unless his people turn on him, which I don't think is going to happen, I think he's going to be redeemed. That's my prediction.
I'm not sure.
And there's nothing I hate more than just all the villains being redeemed. I fucking hate it.
That's not all of them. It's only one. Marcus is dead. Karis is going to die. We'll see about Nicola. I don't know if she's totally and the warden of the prison died. So.
No, I think the Nightbringer might banish himself. I think that's my prediction. He's going to be happy. He's going to be at peace finally, and he's going to wander off.
I would accept that. I don't know. I feel like he did a lot of bad things, and just because you originally were a good person, and yes, what happened to you and your people was not fair, that doesn't mean you can go around tricking people, doing all this stuff, killing people. I mean, he's done bad things.
But he had to give love. He had to love all those people.
Oh,
in order
Lord.
for it to
okay,
work.
Okay, I give up. I fucking give up. Okay, let's just roll with Casey and Nicola, and we shall see what happens. I give up. I give up.
He might sacrifice himself.
No,
I could see that. I could see that maybe he sacrifices himself to save some other big, like.
Only if it's like his people, or his children, or if his wife comes back, but she's like fully dead, right?
She's dead.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Actually, one thing about that, like he was like he loved Lyra or whatever, but like he kept calling her child toward the end. Like every time he talked to her, he was calling her child. I'm like,
well, he's very old. They're all child. He calls everybody child.
If you sleep with me, don't call me child. I don't give a shit how old you are. Do not call me child.
Point.
Point. I'm saying. But okay.
He was in a younger body when he slept with her. Does that make it any better?
I mean, maybe the author wants us to forget that happened. So
he had that comment early on where he's like, she was so sweet.
Tasty. Yeah, she was tasty. She tasted.
She tasted
delicious.
Like morning dew or something ridiculous.
Oh, she was delicious. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. There were hints to the sex, but not.
Yeah, there was some
details.
dick swinging going on there. So
okay, well, I don't know. I'm scared for the conclusion a little bit because it's even longer than this book. It's 518 pages in paperback. I'm a little bit nervous about it. It's even longer. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some dead zones in there because this book has some dead zones. So I'm prepared for that.
They rode through the night, not pausing to sleep or eat until Harper made her eat and sleep.
At least that was just a couple sentences / paragraphs and not like full chapters describing everything.
Yeah.
Like it was necessary, but yeah, it did try.
Yeah, we'll have to start this one. Give it enough time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is gonna have to like marinate with me for a while. Because like in all fairness, I did just finish the book, so maybe after I marinate on it, and then by the time I start the fourth book, I'll be like excited again, kind of like ooh. But we'll see. Okay, let's rate this thing, y'all. We've been talking over an hour. Let's rate the thing. Let's do it. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I give it a 4 stars. It was action-packed. The character growth is beautiful. There were a few parts that lagged. There were a few parts where, it's a little hinky, possible plot holes. So I'm just like, I'm holding out hope that it gets wrapped up in the next book. And I'm excited to read the final book. Okay. So I give it a good 4 stars.
Yeah, that's kind of the final criteria, isn't it? Like, are you dreading the next book? Like, or are you like, yes, I want to read it? I feel bad rating it because I didn't get through it 100%. I would say it's at least a 3.5, and it might go higher when I go back and finish it up. It did drag a little bit for me, but mostly the reason I didn't finish was just me getting busy, not because the book was hard to get through. So it took a little longer than I expected to during the time I did have, and then I just didn't have as much time as I expected. So the fact that I didn't finish it, I don't want to blame that on the book. So I'm going to say at least 3.5, maybe 4, but it sounds like it went pretty good, the parts that I didn't get to.
So for me, I rated both of the prior books a 4, and surprisingly, I'm going to go with a solid 3. I did enjoy it overall, but I did have a few issues with the pacing and some extras. It did drag for me a little bit here and there. I don't know. I just didn't feel as good about this installment as I did about the previous one. And it leaves me now, like I mentioned already, I'm kind of skeptical about the last book. I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know, I'm not feeling 100% confident going into the final book. But I did overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. And it wasn't spectacular either. So I'm just kind of right in the middle.
I would say I'm glad there's only one book left. Like if there were 3 books, I'd be kind of like, uh-oh.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you. I couldn't read 3 more books of this. I would not want to because it's a lot going on. It's really labor intensive to get through some of it. It's actually, when we start breaking it down, there's a lot going on as far as like,
threads.
I guess violence and like just the energy that it takes to go through the stuff that's in this book. Or this series.
I don't think it'd be possible for them to have 3 more books unless some big shit happens in the next book. Like, here's a new empire we have to fight. Like, the plot itself is too confined to this 4-book, giant book series arc. Like, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't suggesting. I wasn't suggesting that there might be, but you know, sometimes the way publishing works, you get towards the end of the 3rd book, and if it's doing really well, all of a sudden you have like another trilogy contract, and not just like this, not just let's tie this up, but more like let's keep this going. You know?
Yeah, that's what they did for a couple of other ones that ended up being bad after the 3rd book, because clearly the story arc ended. They could have ended. But then they decided, I mean, it wasn't 3 books, but that happened with Cassandra Clare's books. There was a clear end, but here comes some more books. That happened with Red Rising. Pierce Brown. It was a clear end to that trilogy, but they gave him 3 more books, and now the books are kind of shitty. Like, they're not like what they were originally. And if they did that here, it would be a mess. All right, guys, I guess we're done with the show. What do you guys think?
I think that's a wrap.
I think so.
We are putting A Reaper at the Gates to bed. So come back next month and we will talk about the final bookend series, and we will also reveal what we're reading next. So you'll want to get involved in that. Join us on Facebook and Shelf Addiction Official. Follow us on social media. You don't want to miss out because we've got something really cool planned for the next series, which is we're holding on to that secret tight until next month. So until then, happy reading, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take care of yourselves.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.
So, let's say you're into yoga or Pilates, or maybe you dabble in gymnastics like me. Either way, you know being flexible is key to doing what you love. That's why Smoothie King created this Stretch and Flex smoothie for people like us, with whole fruits and organic veggies, plus type 2 collagen. Make it part of your daily fitness routine to support flexibility and joint health. So try the Stretch and Flex smoothie in tart cherry or pineapple kale. Order online today for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
Time to fire up the grill.
Time to go to Total Wine and find the perfect flavor to pair with those burgers.
Ooh, I love their beer cooler.
You love their prices even more.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, ridiculously low prices. Total Wine and more.